So welcome to the Intro to Digital PB webinar. Oh, I can't do that. So here we go. What we're going to be covering is what digital PB is and why even use it. Examples of digital PB processes, so that will include New York, Paris, Antwerp and Iceland, and also some Scottish examples. What a digital tool typically consists of, a quick overview of some of the digital tools out there, getting started checklists, and this will be made available on Knowledge Hub. At the moment it's a Google Doc version, but it'll be made available as a PDF as well. And then we're going to be talking about deliberation and idea generation and some of the challenges and also positives of using this. And then online voting, and again, pros and challenges and how to overcome. So what is digital PB? PB is a way for communities to decide how money is spent, proposing ideas, discussing them, and voting on them. And that is a really short and sweet way to describe it. But digital PB is one method where people can decide on how money is spent by proposing and voting on ideas online using a digital tool. Why are we even doing this in the first place? So we want to support the principle of public service reform that says people should have an equal opportunity to participate in decisions shaping their local community and society. We want to complement aspirations in the Community Empowerment Act 2015 to give communities more powers to achieve their own ambitions. And we want to help deliver the public sector equality duty by advancing equality of opportunity and fostering good relations between different groups. In other words, we're performing change, we're optimising the ways in which we can make decisions by implementing technology and reshaping our thinking. We're allowing people to make decisions that directly affect them. We're engaging more people who might not have chosen to or have the means to otherwise get involved in local decision making. We're empowering people, we're building stronger communities, and we're creating a more transparent and communicative network, and in this instance, across Scotland. So we talk about PB, digital PB, but it's important to remember that it's not just about the digital, it's about the process. So here are some links to some videos and to some more information if you want to take a photo of that or follow those links. So digital PB, we talk about it as three main elements, but it's not secluded to idea generation, deliberation, and voting. And I'm going to pass you over to Kelly to talk a little bit about this.
So as Annie said, digital PB has three main elements, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about idea generation. So idea generation is the way by which people in the communities who are participants in the process can suggest ideas for how the pot of money should be spent. There's a few things that you need to think about before you launch your idea generation process, including what are the parameters of the process. So for example, are you doing your process thematically? So you're asking for ideas around a particular theme. That could be anything from how money should be spent in the local area on activities for young people, to improvements that could be made to the natural or built environment, or anything else that you can think of thematically. It's really important in the idea generation phase that you put out information to the participants that's easy to understand, that explains how the full process will work and how the flow of ideas that they contribute at this stage will be followed through the process. And it's really important to think about how the ideas submitted at this stage will then move on to further phases, including deliberation and voting. So you might want to think about how, for example, you could do a sifting process, because it's very possible that you may get lots and lots of contributions, some of which are really similar. And in that case, in the next stage, before you move on to any voting, you might want to merge similar proposals. But you might want to do this in conversation with the people that have submitted them. So there's a few things that you will need to think through, and the documentation that we have provided with the checklist will give you a few ideas about what you should be thinking about. Another main element of digital PB is deliberation. So that's the way that people who are accessing the online tool can have a discussion about the ideas that have been generated. Different tools allow you to deliberate in different ways. Some, for example, have a setup where you have columns for and against. Others have threads. The thing about deliberation is that it gives an opportunity for people in the community, the participants, to make comments on the things that they are seeing being proposed for the funding being spent on. The key thing to think about with the deliberative element, especially for people that are running the process, is whether or not you want to have any form of moderation or facilitation. So moderation, you may, for example, set up some rules for the way that people engage on the platform. So, for example, you might put up screening for profanity and try and ensure that the conversation is quite cordial. With facilitation, you might want to encourage people to participate, perhaps by posing questions about the ideas that are being generated, or encouraging friendly conversations. And then voting, the third main element in a digital PB process. So voting is when you've got your ideas, you potentially have done a sifting process to come up with a final set of ideas that you want to put out to the public. At some point in that process, you have allowed some deliberation. And it's also important to note that deliberation can take place offline as well. And then you're moving on to your voting. So voting is where the decision is made, the final decision about how this money is spent. There's lots of ways that you can configure your voting process using digital PB tools, and we'll be able to provide you with more information on that
in the voting webinar. Cool, thanks Kelly. I'm just going to carry on then. So here's a little picture of what it could look like. It's a little bit blurry, but this is from the PB project website, so I've stolen that. Hope that's all right. But yeah, this is the kind of structure of what it would look like. Can you see the screen all right?
Yes.
Cool. So this is one that I think the Democratic Society created a wee while ago. So it kind of starts with idea generation, deliberation, and then it could be discussion, prioritization, voting, and then fund allocation. We've got this little pound sign at the start, but actually this could be at the end as well. So you could just start with idea generation and you might not even have any money at the start of your process. So it's something else to consider. There's also, with certain tools, some tools might have extra add-ons, and that could be things like debates or collaborative legislation, so developing policies and supporting councils develop policies. It might be like something simple like a poll or a survey to ask citizens what they feel about something. There could also be like discussion forums and online communities. So online community could be people who care about a specific project and they want to find out more about it and they want to grow that community. There could also be localized interactive digital maps, so pin drop maps where you can click on a certain area or town and you can find out what projects are going on there or sort of different resources that are in your community, and I'll show you that in a minute. I've got one example of that. There could also be things like calendar, events and timelines, and another thing is online games. So the benefits of digital PB, it's not just about the allocation of budgets, it's about integrating online and offline. So it's not just about the tool. You want to be able to have offline events or spaces where people can come together in person as well as online. It's about engaging even more people to your process. It's about increasing local decision making. It's arguably a fairer way of doing things, a way of doing things outside the box, and also being transparent and fair. So now I'm just going to run through some examples of digital PB. And some of these examples that I'm going to talk through, there are blog posts that I've put in a link to the Intro to PB sheet that you will get as well. So there'll be some more information. New York City, they chose to do an online map. So you can see here they've got all their projects allocated to different areas in New York, but they also had offline volunteers. So they used very simple idea generation through the map, but also offline events. So they connected the two. They had volunteer budget delegates, so they would research into these ideas. Then they would shortlist those that people needed help the most, and then they would develop these ideas further. The voting part for this process was both online, so using the PB tool online, and also at offline polling stations. So they mixed online and offline for their process. So again, they had all their projects up online. I don't know if you can see that there, but they had a list of all their projects. They had a list of all their unfeasible projects, a list of projects not selected for balloting, a list of all ideas, ideas with projects, ideas without projects. So ideas without projects could be just something that might need to be developed for next year, or people could collaborate on these ideas. So their process was very transparent. People could go into the site and go, okay, that was unfeasible, and they could work out why it was unfeasible, depending on the criteria for the process. So Antwerp. We've also got blogs on these, as I said before, with a little bit more information if you're interested. So Antwerp decided to base their process on consensus, which meant citizens would all meet up and they would agree their priorities for the budget by playing a game, which was poker. So you can see in the image here, they put poker chips on the projects that they liked the most. Groups would then have to submit proposals within the priority themes chosen. So for example, the theme of environment or the theme of poverty, they would have to submit proposals around those themes. The voting was split in two parts. So 80% via small groups who have to reach consensus. So that was in person. In person, people would work together to reach consensus on who got the vote. And then 20% was done online vote. And Antwerp found out that by doing an online vote, that actually led to even greater participation at offline events. So people would go online and they would discover what was going on. So they would discover these events, like these sort of deliberation events or voting events, and they would decide to come along. So it actually increased participation amongst people. Okay, so forgive me for pronouncing this, I really can't. Reykjavik, Iceland. So they decided to divide up the budget, and I'm going to go over the Citizens Foundation tools in a bit further on. So basically what they had, as you can see down here, they would have a certain amount of money up here. So say they had 70 million euros or 70 million pounds at the top, then people would be able to allocate money to specific projects until all the money was used up. They had online idea generation. So that meant people could only comment for or against. So I'm going to talk a little bit later about this, but there's a thing called the support phase. So you can kind of support projects before they go up for a vote, or unsupport or dislike projects that they don't feel are feasible enough. So here citizens can vote by apportioning the budget available, which is what I spoke about, until all the money is used up. And this year, over 1/3 of the population of Iceland visited the site. So that's a lot more than usual. Working together offline. So Paris decided to submit ideas both online and offline events to get more people to come along. They decided that this time they would put people together that have submitted similar ideas, and they would have to work together at offline workshops, so in-person workshops, to develop their ideas. And that actually can save a lot of time if you're working collaboratively together, and also it can help sort of boost creativity among citizens. So again, they decided to use voting both online and at paper ballot votes as well. So here's a wee Scottish example. Urbit Fife. So these guys decided to use two digital tools, Your Priorities for idea generation and D21 for their voting process. And I've attached a wee blog here on the PB Scotland website. So if you want to take a picture of that, I'll also put the link in the Intro to PB document that I'll be sending out. So you can have a wee look there for some of the documents that come up. So this is what the idea generation looks like. So you can add a new post. They've got the sort of news feature here, map feature, and that's what their platform looked like. Urbit Fife results. So out of a total of 1,406 votes that were cast, 710 people voted online. So that's quite a lot. It's almost a 50-50 divide with voting online and offline. And out of a total of 166 ideas that were generated, 99 were generated online on the website. So that's just some statistics there for you. Another Scottish example is the Leith Decides example. So they used a different tool, which was Participare, and I'm going to go over that tool with you in a little bit. So their process ran in October 2016, and this is some of the outcomes that came out of this. So this was their first time using online voting. 710 people voted online. Around 50% of people participated online. But there was also paper ballots at the launch event and also in libraries. So if you couldn't vote online, you could go to your local library to vote. And again, some more statistics on how the website might have made it a little bit more accessible for people to participate. So the majority have agreed that it's made it easier for people to participate online or in a PB process, having the online option. Again, it provides a good way to take part in decision making. The majority of people agreed with that. You can see in the green here. Here is something that was a little bit of a flaw. So the website was easy to use. You can see here that maybe it wasn't so easy, and I'm going to talk a little bit about maybe why, some of the reasons why that was. So basically, if you put too much information, that can put people off. Too many voting options. So in Leith Decides case, they had 40 in ballot 1 and 16 in ballot 2. So that's quite a lot of voting that you have to get through. They also had mandatory voting for all projects, so it meant that people had to read through each individual project. There was also a long registration process, so they needed a full address and postcode. And arguably, people usually ask for this kind of stuff for security reasons, but there's a balance between it being more accessible and having more people to participate and the security, so it's getting that balance right. The navigation, again, was another reason. There was too many clicks to get to the voting part. Same image for all the projects, so it's really important to have, you know, a good comms strategy to get lots of projects uploading their own images. Preferred voting offline for community spirit, so that was another reason. A lot of people just preferred the paper ballot votes, the traditional style. However, most people have said that they would use a website like this in the future. So here you go, you can see in the green that the majority actually liked using this website. And of course, there are a lot more positive comments than negative. So, convenience. It was really convenient to have an online platform. It's inclusive and it increases accessibility. So people that might be far out or can't make it to the voting event or to your local library, they can just log on their computer or their phone or their iPad. Ease of use. It's quick and simple. It's informative. There was enough time to deliberate. And here's some quotes that people have said. So it's an important part of the democratic process. I think it's a brilliant idea and worth continuing, even if the take-up isn't that great to start with. Another person said, it was a difficult experience, but I feel with improvements, it will be the best way to allow people to vote in the future. if you could please have a look at your getting started checklist, which will ask you some initial questions. So this is just to get you thinking a little bit about what you would like to do if you were to do a PB process. So here are some example questions, because I don't have the sheet handy. So, do you want your platform to be open for people to upload new ideas? Do you want to upload chosen projects yourself for public display and comment? Do you only need a voting element? What kind of voting system would you like? Now, voting, we will go a little bit more in detail in the voting webinar, which is next Thursday, the 23rd. But it's just to get you thinking about some of the options that are out there. Will your voting system be both online and offline? Will some of the voting be held at an event, or will there be paper ballot options as well? Now I'm going to talk a little bit about the tool. Now, there are hundreds and hundreds of tools out there that can help you go digital. Most have the same or even similar functions, and it's usually up to preference, or even like the way they look and feel, the aesthetic of some of the tools, and it's up to you how you use these. So, some of the tools that are on the radar. Now, there are a lot more than these four, but these are the ones I'm going to talk about. So, Participatory, Your Priorities, Open Active Voting, and Counsel. Counsel. Why use? So Counsel is the tool that is the national pilot in Scotland at the moment. So I think there are around 8 councils piloting the tool and increasing as well. So a few of them have already done their digital PB process using Counsel, and there are many examples online. The tool's free and open sourced. There are a network of coders and developers across the world constantly redeveloping versions of the tool, so it's constantly being made better, flaws are being reconfigured. They've got anti-fraud mechanisms built in, and there's lots of international and national learning on it. There's a couple of links that explains the different functions of Counsel a little bit better, because I'm not going to go through it in detail in this webinar. But you can see here it's got how does PB work in Counsel, how does the debate section work in Counsel, how does the voting element work, and how does the participatory process work in Counsel. And there's little videos there that you can click on, and those are also, you can access those in the sheet that I'll be handing out as well. So you can see here, this is the Madrid. So Counsel was developed in Madrid, so it seems unfair not to show this one. Obviously it's in Spanish, but you can see the top: debates, proposals, voting, processes, and participatory budgeting, and then a wee help thing here. As I was talking about, the tool is very international, so you can see everywhere that it's being used. It's also being used in Scotland. We need to get a little pin drop there. Okay, so participatory. So participatory provides idea generation and voting on the one system. It provides flexible and robust security. It can implement different voting methods to suit different PB processes. There's also multilingual options. You can set the timing so that you've got enough time to learn and experiment with the tool before you go live to an official vote or an active idea generation phase. And again, Participatory was designed in Portugal, and that's where the developers are based. So there's lots of international and national learning on Participatory. It's also been used in Scotland. That's what Leith and Musselburgh and Crieff have used Participatory as well. And again, I'll be attaching this link onto the sheet, but it's there if you need it as well. So this is the demo. This is the Democratic Society's demo of participatory. So at the top here, you've got what it is, rules, budgets, proposals, contacts, and just an extra thing. You can actually change the name of each of these things. You can change what it looks like, what it looks and feels like. So here again is another participatory thing. So you can have timelines, top proposals, so you can have a leaderboard. So as with many of these tools, most of them have anti-fraud mechanisms. Most of them have multilingual support, and participatory even has Gaelic. Audit participation, process control, before, during, after, seamless vote and share. So you can share it onto your social media such as Twitter or Facebook. You can vote offline and online, so you can connect the votes that are offline into the online, if that makes sense. Community engagement. Some are cloud-based, so participatory is, for example. Fully configurable, so there's voting methods, there's branding, you can change all this yourself. So your priorities in open active voting, as well as all the above that I've just spoken about. So your priorities is the tool that provides idea generation and deliberation, and open active voting is the tool that provides voting. They both provide flexible and robust security and anti-fraud mechanisms. You can again implement different voting methods. They've got multilingual options. And again, Iceland are now starting to think about embedding artificial intelligence in the future into these tools. You can set it so there's enough time to learn and experiment with the tool. And again, these two tools were set up and designed and developed in Iceland, so there's lots of international and national learning. And this is what the idea generation part of it looks like. So you can see here, it's got add new idea. This is just a demo, and obviously it's a bit silly. Cheese at every party in Edinburgh. And you can filter these ideas or search. This is the open active voting part of the tool. So you can see here, you've got 55 million pounds, euros, whatever, and you can allocate it. So all you need to do is click. You can click on these proposals and you can look in them and find out more information. So what are the pros of using idea generation and deliberation? Well, you can overcome barriers of time and place, meaning that you don't have to come to an event. You can participate online. This also creates a longer amount of time to participate. So it's not just in one day. You could have 2 weeks, 4 weeks, enough time to generate ideas, and then another 2 or 4 weeks to deliberate on some of these ideas and put them through to support phase, and then put them through to vote. Again, it's transparent. This could all be up online. So even the proposals that haven't gone through, you can keep them up online. More people are able to get involved. More people are able to input their own ideas. You can collaborate together. So like in the Paris instance, they've put up their ideas online and then they've been put together with similar ideas. And that also, again, it builds online community presence. So people are helping each other generate ideas or progress these ideas, supporting them. Some of the pros of online voting. Again, it's overcoming barriers of time and place. You've got longer time to participate and deliberate on projects before it even goes to a vote. There's an increased number of people that are able to get involved if you can't make the voting event. It could be creative online with how you run the voting process. For instance, what I was talking about earlier, you could have a support phase where citizens decide which ideas go up for a vote. You can embed this into existing populated online networks. So what I mean by that is you can link the platform to your website, your council or community website, or your Facebook or your Twitter, and basically it's just one click and then people can get into their voting. So of course there are challenges with everything. So some of the challenges with idea generation and deliberation is the user accessible access. Can everyone get online? Does everyone have internet? Is it accessible? Is it easy to use? Again, you might have to have someone monitoring content for like new proposals being uploaded, debates, comments, so inappropriate language, accepting new proposals and putting them through to the next phase, getting people to actually participate in online dialogue. You know, if there's a low number of participants or it's the same people over and over, this can skew representation of views. It might put people off joining as well. So deliberation is linked to the diversity of ideas and sources. But online forums are, by contrast, they're very similar and, again, can gather just like-minded people. So trying to get an overall representation of people to deliberate on certain ideas can be quite hard. Threads have a short life since participants come and go. Sometimes people will just lurk in the development of debates and they won't actually enter into discussion. So it's a challenge to actually get people to comment and talk to one another and participate. So again, it's not always easy to view a spectrum of arguments unless the tool is designed to promote this. So for example, Facebook is not designed to inform deliberation, but your priorities is with debates, with what I kind of showed you with the for and against. Facilitation. So again, what I was talking about, you might need someone to prompt discussion or react to comments or react to proposals, especially getting someone to intervene when someone breaks the rules. And this can require staff time and training. So it's a good idea to actually set rules and boundaries in the first place. And I don't really like calling it rules and boundaries, but I prefer to call it guidelines. So what happens if there's criticism of counsel or services? It's good to have guidelines to get people to, you know, we expect people to participate in this way. It's about benefiting their community. That's what it's for. You might need to manage internal concerns raised by colleagues. So whilst it's better if people come to the platform with solutions focus, some people feel that they might use the platform to complain or raise other issues, and it's something that you need to put in the guidelines. Again, getting people to generate ideas that are actually feasible, that comes with creating a well-communicated brief or criteria in the first place. And if done offline, if you do it through paper submission or by email, you have to get all that information online, and that can take up a lot of time. And the other thing is gathering, you know, photos and videos to make the ideas and the proposals look good. So what I was talking about earlier with Leith Decides, you know, that takes a lot of time to upload pictures. So if you can get people to do that for themselves, people who have generated the proposals, if you can get them to upload pictures, it saves you a lot of time. But you also need to consider, what if they don't have the capacity to produce? And that means that you will need to help them. Again, some challenges. It's not security foolproof. So the idea that, you know, you can have all these algorithms and the registration and user verification, you know, two-step verification, they've got to click this and they've got to put their postcode and their email and their address. It's not security foolproof. So if you want to break the system, people will find a way. You can always multiple vote. And it's important to obviously make your security as foolproof as possible. However, again, it's a challenge. Online voting, yeah, it's a challenge because you don't want it to affect the level of participation amongst citizens. You want people to participate. Online voting won't guarantee huge numbers of people online taking part, especially if there's work needed around outreach and promotion. So I cannot stress enough that communication is so important. Having a strong communication strategy will get people coming to your site. And we'll be talking a little bit about that in How to Become Savvy webinar. So again, unless the system is easy to understand and easy to use, it can really put people off voting. Not everyone actually considered this a challenge, especially weighted with benefits of digital, but without engagement, people might not need to engage with deliberation or consider arguments for or against proposals, so they might just jump straight to the vote. And again, ensuring that any offline process mirrors exactly the same as an online process, and that can be quite difficult, especially if you've got a complicated voting process. Internally, you might also need to satisfy colleagues in other departments that the process is robust, that the security is safe, that there's, data protection and a clear outline of the process, and it makes sense to everyone. Some last challenges are, of course, not everyone is online. Not everyone has internet access. Not everyone has a phone, a laptop. And they might just prefer paper ballot voting. So it's really important to have both online and offline processes together to make your process as strong as it can possibly be. Again, you can integrate online networks that are already populated. Websites and social media, such as linking your site to Facebook or Counsel website that people are already talking on. And again, having multiple votes means that citizens might have to consider other options. And this opens up the process to deliberation. So you might have a group of people that are obviously just going to vote for their own project. To avoid that, and to avoid it being unfair, you can get people to vote for more than one project. So, considering some of these challenges, how can we overcome them? And again, I've put in the checklist some barriers and how you can overcome some of these barriers. So if you have a look at that wee checklist, that'll give you some more information and some ideas and tips on how to overcome some of these digital and in-person challenges. What will we cover in the next few webinars? Planning your PB process. So that could be creating a timeline and getting a communication strategies together, getting people on board to take on various tasks. Idea generation and deliberation in a little bit more detail than I've just gone through. And voting in more detail. So the different types of voting, what kind of voting you might need to use to get various things out of your process. Integrating online and offline processes, so having offline events or paper ballot votes combined with online, but this could also be idea generation as well. How to become savvy, so I spoke about communication strategy earlier, so this will talk about getting a strategy together, mapping your stakeholders, mapping people in the community that can help you with your communications, but also creating a little bit of an action plan, a timeline of getting comms out there, and again, creating reusable resources. Making the case for digital PB, so persuading people to get involved, what's in it for you. Community mapping, inclusion and digital, and more. Please feel free to contact us. The email address is scotland@demsoc.org. We'll be happy to go over any of these tools that I spoke about or any of these processes in more detail. Just give us a wee shout. Thank you very much for joining.